Hello everyone, CMeeCraft here, and welcome back to A Light in the Dark. I think this is probably starting to wrap up. Story developments have happened, it's been a wild ride, and here we go. Day 5, Choice. Amidst the fuzziness, I had a dream. It seemed to be an afternoon after school. My mother hugged me so tight that it made my arms uncomfortable. She kept crying and apologizing, wetting my face with endless teardrops. Why was she crying? I blankly looked down at my emotionally collapsed mother. Even the supposedly familiar face appeared unfamiliar at that moment. Even though she was the one who betrayed Father. Even though she was the one who abandoned us. So why did she look so sad? I couldn't ask the simple question from my heart, yet a voice answered nonetheless. That's how the adult world works. That was a depressed, yet still young voice. Within the darkness, I realized that was none other but my own voice. Day 5. Morning. I woke up from my dream in shock, with the realization that my face was all wet. I couldn't recall the details of the dream itself, just the sense of bitterness weighing on my chest, rendering me breathless. There were a few spots of white light from outside on the ground. It was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat and the wind from the window. It was probably 4 or 5 a.m. I must have woken up early because I slept way too early the day before. I sat up to stretch my body, with the joints making clear cracking sounds. The last bit of my dream vanished with the morning lights. I noticed the girl was leaning against the door with the blanket, with her knife next to her body. She had clearly fallen into a deep sleep. Worrying I might escape, she didn't even want to sleep in an actual bed. She had a slender body, clearly due to malnutrition, and the unkempt shoulder-length long hair that was tangled in multiple places. Her long eyebrows wrinkled together, as though she couldn't find peace even in the dream. Her long hair didn't seem very healthy, and even the color was not consistent. One probably couldn't care less about their hair when eating, for the night alone was an uncertainty. She could be a beauty if she cleaned herself up and maybe put on some makeup. Carefully observing her asleep face, I almost forgot she was the kidnapper. Having a totally different family might have led to a totally different life for her. The world is not fair. I remembered what she had said, and wondered what emotion did she say that line with? Helplessness towards the society? Self-pity? Rage against the rich? I decided to stop thinking about it and focused on figuring out what to do. We'll just rest. There's no point to risk this much. They might just let me go after tonight. Yeah, I feel like our conversation game has been pretty good, so I don't think we need to take unnecessary risks with physical escape attempts. Hearing her voice, I was glad I didn't try anything crazy. I finally managed to let her drop guard on me. I just needed to be patient and wait for the opportunity. Good morning. What are you doing? She tiredly yawned and looked at me unpleasantly. Wait for breakfast, I guess. She clearly didn't buy it and walked to me with the knife. She checked if the rope was loose. You're free once your dad pays today. No funny business. Alright. Better keep your mouth shut and say nothing. Got it? You'll never make friends if you're this bossy, you know. I responded jokingly, but she didn't seem to appreciate it. She stared at me briefly and decided to say nothing more. She then walked to the bathroom to clean up. Unlikely as it might be, but if they were going to pay the ransom, they would let me go without me risking anything. The real problem would be if it was just to buy time. I wasn't sure what they would do if pushed it forward. Either I escaped on my own or waited for the police's rescue. Well, I would worry about that after tonight. So what now? Okay, any chatting opportunities? You look really tired, or why do you owe so much money? You look really tired. So some concern for her well-being. You look pretty tired. None of your business. She replied sourly, yet the thick dark circles under her eyes said it all. Guarding me around the clock, plus the heavy mental stress, had taken quite a toll on her body. Told you it might spread. Told you it might spread. Because get some rest if you're not feeling well, she might interpret as a ploy for escape, which could be. Shut up. I'm not in the same bad shape as you. I'm not helping you if you faint. Shut up. Lack of sleep led to a bad temper. She waved her hand to stop me from saying more. Alright, what now? Alright, I am also curious on the other option. Why do you owe so much money? Why do you owe that much money? My dad tried to start a company with someone, but that partner skipped town with all the money. That should be none of your business, though. You can just file for bankruptcy. He thought he could make up the loss if the business kept running, so he loaned a ton from a loan shark. He's no businessman, so the business naturally failed. He himself skipped town too, instead of making any money. But legally that's his own debt. Legally? She cut me off with a grunt. She then asked with raised eyebrows, "Do you think this is some entrance exam? What are the cops for if everyone follows the law?" So no one can help you? I don't want to specifically mention a social worker, so no one can help you. So no one can help you. I think a more general thing would be better. She looked at me with amazement. You need to take responsibility for your own life. Isn't that your favorite line? I mean... Enough? Should I fill you in on how I survived till now? She shut me down decisively and fell into deep thought, next to the window with her cigarette. So what now? Okay, we've got a thing. The cause of death was her father borrowing money from a loan shark. No one has heard from him after he skipped town. Let's observe. What could we could observe the lights. Anything else interesting? No, not here. What about over here? Anything of note? Were those like little pterodactyl things there before? Not sure they were. Let's look at the lights. A strange-looking lamp that doesn't even have a lampshade. I don't know what era it might have been made during. Can I toss it like a weapon? I have to time myself first, though. She couldn't seem to calm down on the big day. Pacing around the room, she kept checking her phone screen. A sound from outside the door. Judging from the girl's shocked reaction, I wasn't imagining it. Who could that be? There will be questions in my mind, or there were questions in my mind, but I was pressed against the wall before I could even open my mouth. The girl covered my mouth in panic and raised the knife against my neck. The blade was so close I wouldn't dare to move an inch. Don't move. Shut up! Not able to stop the trembling in her voice, she put more force into her hand. The sharp end would stab into the throat with a simple push. It didn't appear to be an accomplice, since it didn't appear there were any other residents. One wouldn't expect a sudden visit. The police, maybe? They might be able to find me through the surveillance camera or cell phone signal, but could they find us this quickly after only a few days? Following the train of thoughts, the steps got closer, then stopped right before the door. There's no hesitation, straight to the destination. In other words, they knew there was someone here, as though waiting for something. There was no sound outside of the door. No one seemed to want to break this silence. Her tense right hand trembled a little. I could see the sweat dripping down the cheek. Big sis? The little girl's voice came through the door. Oh my gosh, thank you. She breathed out heavily and dropped her arms as though exhausted. She opened the door to greet the little girl, who was carrying a bag, and looked at her big sis innocently. What are you doing? Do you know how dangerous it is? If you didn't make a sound, I imagine I might have attacked you. Sorry. It was rare to see her getting mad at the little girl, who lowered her head apologetically. Through the door, I could see the view of the stairs. The red armrest and gray wall were the common sight of an old apartment. Whatever. As long as it's not the cop. Wait, didn't I tell you not to come? What happened? Who asked you to come here? She raised her head suddenly and started to shake the little girl's shoulder with a nervous expression. No one. Then why did you... I just want to be with Big Sis. Her direct response rendered the girl speechless, who became lost in thought while rubbing the little girl's head. The little girl's motive was simple. She just wanted to be with her big sis. But her sister had more to consider. How to avoid police pursuit, what to do after getting the money. It was difficult as it was to escape on her own, let alone taking care of the little girl. Why did you bring so many things? Deciding to let it go, she took the plastic bag. Miss Wang asked me to bring them over. She said they were left over. She knows? I don't know. She just said you should take care of yourself and let her know if you need help. She seemed to lose her usual cool, with her head lowered depressingly. Big sis? Miss Wang seems worried about you. Looking at the hesitating little girl, she bit her lips and finally spoke after a while. Don't worry. It'll be all over soon. She managed to smile while rubbing the little girl's hair. Noticing the name that was brought up, who was this Miss Wang they were talking about? Let's ask. No harm in asking, right? Who is Miss Wang? Since it was the first time they brought up someone else, I decided to ask when I had the chance. She is Big Sis. Oh. Suddenly a bread was thrown at me. It hit me right in the face before I could react. Thank goodness it was just scallion bread. I'd be in trouble if it was a baguette. Be quiet and don't try to trick her. You too. Don't tell him anything. Ling. I repeated the name quietly. The girl was still scolding her sister, not paying attention to what she just revealed. If They share the same last name, and her full name should be Ling Huang. The name stuck out to me. It almost felt familiar, in a way. Whatever. Might be for the best. She passed the knife to the little girl and started to leave the room with the cell phone impatiently. Keep an eye on him for me. I'm going to give a call and find out what's going on. Didn't pick up the phone. She impatiently mumbled and was about to step out of the room. Calling whom? What part of shut up don't you understand? She coldly stared at me. It's none of your business, got it? Just eat the bread if you're hungry. There's also enough water. I'll be back soon, so don't you think about untying yourself. Hey, what if there's a fire? Then you'll be burned to death. I don't care as long as she escapes. Fighting for my privilege only got me a merciless look, with the little girl quietly nodding on the side. I remind you again, no funny business. What else can I do, barbecue? She wanted to say something while staring at me, but eventually she just grunted and left. The door closed and there were only me and the little girl. We would learn if the ransom really arrived tonight or not. They would only keep a closer eye on me if the negotiation continued. If I wanted to run, now would be the best chance. The little girl had less strength than her sister, nor was as on guard of me as she used to be. All these choices were like gambling. You never knew what would be your next card. The only thing that mattered was that you only had one chance to bid. So what now? Alright, what chatting options do we have available? Thank you for helping me. I say we open with this. I think that's a good line. Right, I almost forgot to thank you. Why are you thanking me? When I was sick a few days ago, weren't you the one that asked her to buy me some medicine? No, Big Sis would have helped you anyway. She awkwardly avoided my gaze, as though admitting that helping me was something to be embarrassed about. Understood her conflicted mind. To her, my gratitude might not be praise, but criticism. Okay, interesting. Alright, I do want to figure out more about this, Miss Wang. That Miss Wang you just mentioned. She was about to talk before immediately shutting her mouth, still remembering her big sis words. I had to find another way to make her disclose it. She's the real culprit, right? She's your family, right? Family. She sounds like a nice woman, so I don't think we want to kinda try to accuse her of the crime. She's your family, right? If she was the culprit, she wouldn't have asked her to rest, nor brought them food. Exactly. Family? She mumbled my words, but finally nodded affirmatively. If Miss Wang didn't help us, we wouldn't even have a place to live or people hiring us. Outside of Big Sis, Miss Wang is the only one helping us. Deep in her memory, she quietly recalled with her lowered head. I remembered she said the bread were leftovers, which means they're either from a bakery or a shopping mall. If it was a shopping mall, then they would probably also have bentos and drinks. In other words, they used to work in a bakery. She was taken care of by Miss Wang, who worked in a bakery. Okay, no more chatting opportunities. I think we're fairly well rested, so we'll keep observing. Anything new to observe? The curtains specifically we could observe. We might end up doing that. And there's the bathroom. again. I mean, not a whole lot of note here. Although can we not select the sink anymore? Weird. I would investigate the, because we've got the window. I would investigate the curtain. The ink green curtain is covered in thick dust, most likely having gone unwashed for a long time. I can't even tell what the original color was. It is for concealing the light in the room at night. It makes creaking sounds every time someone pulls it. However, if there's a need to conceal the light, does it mean there is someone else nearby? Huh. Day 5, noon. It was the 5th day of my kidnapped life. I started to get really tired of the unchanging room. Whether it was the afternoon sunlight, the reflection in the window, or the air mixed with cigarette and mold smell. I didn't have an enlightening experience, I just wanted to get out of this goddamn place. What's that? Noticing the bag in her hand, I asked out of curiosity. Colored paper. She took out piles of colored paper. The rainbow color really stood out in the depressingly gray room. After a few slick movements, she had nimbly made a small paper crane out of it. She moved on to the next paper upon completion, and another one was completed less than a minute. A paper crane?
Yes, they buy finished paper cranes from us.
Oh, domestic OEM. I heard some factories will outsource sewing and packaging to housewives and paid for quantity upon competition. Despite the low pay, many people took on such jobs for the convenience and flexible hours.
I wanted to help and make some money so we could pay up the debt sooner.
She was still working while talking. It wasn't long before there was a small pile. It didn't appear to be her first time. She must have been doing this for a while. How's the payments? How much each?
$800 for 1,000. More if urgent.
800 per 1,000 cranes. That's less than $1 each. Even if it took only a minute to make one, it would still take 15 hours. That's less than 100 per hour salary, less than I expected. How much do you owe?
I know that no matter how many I make, it would still not be enough.
Guessing what I had in mind, she quietly resumed working.
But this is the only way I could help Big Sis.
She knew this little money was inconsequential. She knew what she was doing was illegal. Yet she could only do what she could, even if it was, as pointless as filling the ocean with rocks. Do you know the story of the paper crane? I remembered the bedtime story while looking at the paper crane in her hand.
If you fold 1,000 paper crane, you can make a wish.
So you know.
Big Sis told me that, but it was all a lie. If all it takes is 1,000 cranes, everyone wouldn't need to work so hard.
What an unimaginative way to put it. But I guess they didn't have time for romantic fantasy. How ironic that the dream-fulfilling paper cranes were made by people without them. I observed her side face with unease. She didn't appear to have much emotion, just as quiet as a pond in fall. The siblings had such a drastically different personalities. In contrast to her big sis, anger, she just accepted it without second word. She cared about her big sis, happiness, and her current life more than fairness. I almost pity you here, but there's no good ending waiting for you doing this.
Then, then what can we do?
I don't know. I couldn't even sort out my own problems. We alone must bear our crosses. We all have our own problems to deal with. No one cares about it, and no one will help you. We are born to this world alone and face these problems alone. Those who can't make it will get eliminated. The world is not only unfair, nor merciful. It was getting dark. There was no news of Big Sis. I didn't know if she got the money. I started to worry. I didn't really think they would pay, but I also hoped this fiasco could end on a peaceful note. They couldn't get the money. All these thoughts intertwined in my mind. The little just ate the various breads quietly, not noticing my thoughts. You like sweets? She moved on to egg tart after finishing the donuts, neither of them fitting for a proper meal. She quietly put her hand away like a child that got caught doing naughty things. I like sweets too.
Really?
She looked at me with widened eyes, beaming with curiosity. The innocence in her expression made one question her age. She looked like a middle schooler, yet her timid personality and over-reliance on her sister seemed to be more like an elementary school kid. Yeah, I like cookies and cakes and ice cream.
Chocolate?
Chocolate is nice, but I prefer those with a higher percent of cocoa. Otherwise, it's too sweet for me. Not really understanding it, she just nodded. She paused the work and grabbed a magazine from the book pile and flipped it through pages before putting it before me. It was a professional magazine on desserts. There were photos of famous bakery and detailed analysis on each of them. I could see her notes on some pages, including a white chocolate cake that got specially circled. The pure white cake was decorated with berries and covered in cocoa powder. The elaborate garnish made it more like an artwork than a pastry.
Have you tried this?
Nope, I seldom try out a particular store. I only visited a few I know about. Sometimes people would give us some as gifts, but I rarely had a taste for those since I didn't visit home frequently. Speaking of which, white chocolate is actually not chocolate.
Why is that?
It is white because there is no cocoa powder. Do you know it is made of cocoa butter and milk solid?
Oh.
She tilted her head and blinked a few times out of confusion.
So, what's the difference?
Different ingredients. I heard white chocolate is not as healthy.
But it tastes good?
Can't argue with that. The difference between us was never clearer. Comparing to my health concern, she cared more about the taste. I flipped through the magazine with one hand. There were more pages with notes. I recalled myself doing the same thing on travel guidebook before a trip. Every stroke of the pen was filled with anticipation. You really want to try them, huh? She lowered her head, and I heard her response in a tiny voice.
Big Sis said she will bring me there.
I was getting a little tired of her constant mentioning of Big Sis. However, she only had her Big Sis to rely on. She couldn't go to school and had to become independent way before others. It just wasn't fair to call her ignorant. I sighed. My heart always felt heavy when talking to her. Sometimes rather she was as angry as her sister. At least I wouldn't feel as guilty that way. The magazine was the manifestation of her dream. Desserts, cake, and chocolates. From my perspective, these dreams would never come true. Even if she got the money, I don't think she'd be able to bring you on a foodie tour. She looked at me with an expression on the verge of tears. Seeing her depressed expression, I swallowed the words I was about to say, and regret the fact I might have gone too far. I wanted to let her see the reality, but didn't want to hurt her either. With that said, there could be a chance for that in the future.
Really?
Yep. I repeated myself to give her confidence. The shaky light in the dark lightened up her young face, which was filled with unease and sadness. She knew what her sister was doing. That very realization was what shaped her suffering. But she didn't have a choice. Could she stop her sister and convince her to focus on a proper job instead of kidnapping? There was obviously no way. Even an adult would not be able to give an answer, let alone a kid like her. She was not to be blamed here. The ones responsible were her parents, her guardian, or even her big sis. My thoughts were interrupted by the sound. She was back. Immediately there were countless thoughts in my mind, and I realized I had no time to hesitate. The footsteps were getting closer, and my heart beat faster. I clenched and then let go of my hands, and the pockets, the palms were drenched in sweat. Maybe, just maybe. If she did get the ransom, then it would all be over when she got here. No one would get hurt, they could restart their life, a happy ending like all fairy tales. No matter how unlikely it was, I wanted to believe that slight chance was my last chance of escape as the wager. I seldom gamble on anything, and this would be the only time I truly hoped to win. Let's hope. We've been playing the conversation game. Let's hope it worked out. The girl entered the room with an icy expression. There's no usual cool about her anymore. The messy hair spread across the shoulder, and I could see nothing but rage and despair in her eyes. I knew the answer without asking.
Big sis?
Step aside. The little girl tried to get closer, nervously, but only got shoved aside by her big sis, who walked towards me with big steps. Okay, out of nowhere, a kick landed on my stomach and made me curl up in pain. Before I could react, a myriad of punches landed on me.
Big sis?
Shut up and step aside! The little girl tried to pull her, but got scared motionless by her sister's yelling. All of you are the same! All of you! She yelled at me hysterically, as though trying to vent all her rage upon me. I managed to cover my head with my hands, trying to shield my crucial parts. There was a taste of blood in my mouth. I couldn't control myself from spasming and even coughing up. Gastric juice didn't alleviate the sense of nausea. Every single time. Every time. Every effing time. I just want a normal life. Why do you have to force me? What do you want from me? The yelling and the crying. The initial burning pain seemed to gradually disappear. All the noise mixed into one everlasting sound in my ear, as though from somewhere far, far away. I naively thought it would work out. I gave up my chance like a coward, believing they would pay. I knew it from the very beginning. I gave up my chance of escape to embrace an unrealistic hope, and here I was. She finally stopped. There were only her heavy breathing and the little girl's sobbing.
Big sis? Why? You said it would be alright.
As though hearing her sister for the first time, the girl dropped her fists and faced the crying little girl. Her clenched fists were still trembling. Her standing posture appeared extremely lonely.
Don't cry.
I could hear her choking up, and there were tears in her eyes, but she stubbornly refused to let them drop.
I won't cry either.
She bit her lips and said every word forcefully.
I will not cry, no matter what. I already knew it would be like this. I knew no one will believe me, no matter what I do. From their perspective, we should all just go to hell. Or just some social problem. We should all just die. Just because we're poor and can't go to school. Why don't they just lock up everyone who has less than 2K in income? Everyone who doesn't have a middle school diploma should just get executed. What do they call us? Backup criminals? Social time bombs? Big sis? Listen to me. No one will believe us, and no one will help us. All we have is ourselves. Got it?
It was a declaration and an accusation, both. A yell straight from her soul's deepest place. She let go of her fist. There were spots of blood on her gloves, and she just laughed, ignoring that.
I know this goddamn world isn't fair.
Hearing the familiar words, I finally understood the emotion behind them. It was neither helplessness or acceptance, but rage and struggling against the reality. Okay, wow, that's... could have gone better. Well, I guess that was day 5 wasn't the last day. Day 6 answer. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are too. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.